Our group is looking at distributed energy generation and how that might be implemented on the small Caribbean island of Eleuthera in the Bahamas. Distributed energy generation, or DEG, is a collection of various technologies that generate electricity at or near where it will be used. Instead of one big power plant transmitting power over long distances to power houses and businesses, DEG produces energy on site and can be used directly at or nearby the generation source. It's also very scalable and can serve as a single house or business or be part of a microgrid. Eleuthera is a small island in the Bahamas with a population of about 11,500 people spread across the long, narrow island. The island's economy is largely based around tourism, and its relatively large size but small population make it a prime target for distributed energy generation. Eleuthera currently generates almost all of its electricity from inefficient diesel generators. This is also very expensive, and the island spends a significant amount of money importing fuel, as well as on maintenance. These generators are also old and often struggle to handle peak loads, resulting in brownouts. However, the island is a prime location for both solar and wind production due to its location close to the equator. Going forward, we look at what it might look like to set up the island of Eleuthera in the style of distributed energy generation, and how it would be organized, and what the potential power production might look like. We also explore the financial aspect of what it would take to convert to solar power and how that compares to current diesel generators.
We first broke down the island of Eleuthera into various population clusters based on demographics from the 2010 census. The 2020 census was still being processed and could not be used at this time. Each town was put into one of four categories: population of 1,000 and above, shown in gold circles, 500 to 999, shown in red X's, 100 to 499, shown in green boxes, and 0 to 99, shown in blue triangles. This population description painted a clear picture of where energy is needed. North Eleuthera showed a big population cluster dominated by Harbor Island and St. George's Caves. Furthermore, down the island, Governor's Harbor, North Palmetto, Rock Sound, and Tarpon Bay show the higher population locations. The rest of the island has smaller towns sprinkled throughout. In order to determine a raw estimate of how much power each person or household uses, we took a step back. The entire population of the Bahamas is roughly 389,482, who generate 1,930 gigawatt hours per year. This breaks down to approximately 4,955 kilowatt hours per person for 1 year. We then took this 4,955 kilowatt hour per person for 1 year and multiplied it based on the population of the towns in Eleuthera. This gave us a raw estimate of how much energy each town in Eleuthera uses per year. For example, the town of Alistown, with a population of 499 people, will produce roughly 2.473 gigawatt hours per year. We then were able to use this information to determine what energy generation was needed in their immediate area. The population breakdown provides an opportunity to implement a dual decentralized system throughout the island. Eleuthera's two biggest areas for renewable energy potential are solar and wind energy. A wind turbine or wind farm can provide large amounts of energy, with one turbine alone outputting close to 402,000 kilowatt hours per month. While these require a significant amount of space and money, they could be used to provide energy for a large energy cluster such as the one in northern Eleuthera. On the other hand, a solar panel or small solar farm could provide smaller amounts of energy, with just one panel outputting 43.75 kilowatt hours per month, but they require less space and less upfront cost and investment. A batch of solar panels or a solar farm could be a better solution for a smaller population cluster, such as the ones in southern Eleuthera that have a smaller population and size. And these solar panel farms and small solar panel patches can operate up to production of 1 gigawatt hour per year with every 2.8 acres. For example, let's look at a larger town such as Governor's Harbor. Governor's Harbor is a town with a population of 701 people with approximately 200 households, using a 3.5 average household size from a 2020 Bahamas research study. This town outputs approximately 3.47 gigawatt hours per year. If each house just had one solar panel on the roof, they would be able to output 105,000 kilowatt hours per year. Complementing this with a small-scale solar farm of around 5 acres, since a solar farm produces 1 gigawatt hour per year for every 2.8 acres, the town of Governor's Harbor could produce over half of their current energy consumption. The ability to cut a whole town's reliance on fossil fuels by 50% is a huge step forward for a country straining to move towards a renewable, decentralized energy generation system. One of the biggest advantages of decentralized energy generation is the location of the energy sources. Currently in Eleuthera, there are 3 main generators on the island located in Harbor Island, Hatchet Bay, and Rock Sound. These generators combine for production of 450,000 megawatt hours per year. 3 generators to provide energy to an island that is 112 miles long is a tall task. From a geographical analysis of the island, Eleuthera can be broken down to 11 sections, strictly based on location and not population. From this analysis, 2 generators are located in Sector 2 and 3, approximately 12 miles away from each other. The next generator is between Sector 8 and 9, approximately 53 miles away from the nearest generator. Even if these 2 generators split the distance when it comes to providing energy, each would need transmission lines that travel at least 26.5 miles. This only accounts for straight line travel, however. The distance would most likely be higher due to the path of travel and landscape of the island. Furthermore, even though the generator in Sector 2 and 3 are close to each other, they must provide energy to various smaller islands in northern Eleuthera, requiring the use of underwater wires or lines traveling over the ocean. In both cases, there is a higher chance of issues due to damage and wear from the landscape and water. Our projected new system would eliminate the issue of transmission lines traveling long distances and or over difficult landscapes and bodies of water. For example, houses in Governor's Harbor would either have solar panels on their homes traveling basically 0 miles in order to feed their household energy, or have lines from solar panel farm traveling no more than 2 to 5 miles in any direction. This provides efficient energy generation and transportation with minimal wire maintenance and repair needed due to the lack of obstacles and hazards faced from minimal travel.
To do a cost analysis, we first wanted to figure out what energy sources we would switch to. Eleuthera's terrain rules out any forms of hydro or geothermal energy, which essentially leaves wind and solar. Wind power is a viable option on the island, especially at a smaller scale. However, there are a few distinct drawbacks. One of the main ones is that the area is frequented by hurricanes, which can cause damage to wind turbines and require large offshore ones to have heavily reinforced foundations. This leads into other drawbacks as well, especially in environmental issues that stem from offshore installation. The Bahamas has many fragile reef ecosystems that are potentially threatened by the significant construction required to install offshore wind turbines. Another significant factor is the cost, about twice that of solar per kilowatt hour. Based on this, we decided to do a financial analysis of what it might look like to replace current electrical production entirely with solar. First, we needed to figure out how much solar capacity we would need to replace the current generators with. To do this, we used the per capita consumption of 4,955 kilowatt hours per year, multiplied by the 11,500 people living on the island, to estimate the electrical consumption at about 57,000 megawatt hours per year. Then, using the National Renewable Energy Laboratory's PV Watts calculator tool, we were able to calculate that about 36 megawatts of ground-mounted solar capacity would produce the required 57,000 megawatt hours per year required. Then we needed to look at installation costs. In the US, the average installation cost for solar was about $2.87 per watt. which we then needed to adjust by about 20% to account for the Bahamas' increased cost of goods due to the island's remoteness and lack of infrastructure. The installation cost then became $3.44 per watt, meaning to install 36 megawatts, it would cost about $124 million. Next, solar panels do require some maintenance. They need to be cleaned, replaced, or repaired if damaged, and serviced periodically. We estimated this cost to be about $10 per panel, based off of estimates in the US. Assuming an average of about 350 watts per panel, which is typical in a commercial installation, the yearly maintenance cost is then about $1 million or so. Now that we know what the cost would be to replace all generating capacity with solar, we can then compare that with diesel, which is what is currently used. For this analysis, we are ignoring the initial installation costs associated with diesel generators because they are already installed on Eleuthera. Although it is important to note that for the same generating capacity, installation is about a quarter of the cost of solar. With diesel, however, the largest costs are fuel and maintenance, which we adjusted from old data to account for increased population and thus increased demand. The annual costs for fuel are about $11.6 million, and the costs for maintenance are about $1.27 million, for a combined $12.86 million annually. This is significant when compared to solar. When looking at these costs compared to solar panels, the solar panels break even compared to the diesel in about 10 to 11 years. In addition to these costs, generators typically do not last as long as solar panels. After about 10 to 15 years, they either have to be replaced or significantly overhauled. This is compared to most solar panels, which come with a 25-year manufacturer's warranty. This guarantees that within those 25 years, if a solar panel breaks or malfunctions, it will be replaced by the manufacturer. Now, this analysis is obviously a bit reductive, as you couldn't replace nighttime or early morning loads with solar production. However, it still serves to show that despite the significant upfront costs, solar is a sound economic investment for the island of Eleuthera. Additionally, some of the solar production could be replaced with battery storage to help with non-peak production loading. For example, we looked at Tesla's commercial power pack offerings, which are priced at about $750 per kilowatt hour. If we were to allocate 10%, say, of the solar installation cost to power packs, this would reduce our solar installation to about 32.4 megawatts, producing about 52,000 megawatts per year compared to the previous 57,000 megawatts per year. But this would add about 16.5 megawatt hours of battery capacity, helping to make such a solar installation more usable. Either way, solar is an economically viable replacement for current diesel generators and is something that the Bahamian government should invest heavily into in the future.
Our thorough analysis of the island of Eleuthera proves that a distributed energy generation system that is decentralized and based on solar energy would be both practical and beneficial to the island as a whole. An investigation of the population produced numerous population clusters spread out along the island, a prime factor when considering decentralized energy generation. An energy output calculation discovered just how much energy Eleuthera is consuming, and further analysis found how strictly solar farm installations and small solar panel patches could take over half, if not more, of their energy consumption requirements. A transmission wire distance system analysis was evaluated and showed how decentralized systems would cut the transmission line travel to below 5 miles compared to over 25 miles at the shortest distance currently. And finally, a detailed cost analysis demonstrated how a switch to solar energy in a decentralized fashion could supply Eleuthera with enough energy and do so in a sustainable way without breaking the bank. While much more research is needed to continue building a case for Eleuthera to convert to decentralized renewable energy, we strongly believe this case study showed just how possible the change can be.